SteelCell of North America provides modular detention-related products. Most typically, people think of us as a cell manufacturer, the actual sleeping room, but we also do many things like shower units, modular control rooms, miscellaneous modular walls, and related products. I would not limit our ability or scope of work to just those things. We're certainly open to anything that makes sense to save money on a project. SteelCell has been in business since 2000. In 2009, we started our current campus with a 112,000 square foot manufacturing plant. Then in 2019, we added a 40,000 square foot warehouse annex to be able to better serve larger projects. SteelCell has grown from doing very small to medium-sized county jail jobs to, in recent years, some of the largest county jail projects in the country. As we have worked with the architectural industry, we have discovered that many of the mid-rise and high-rise solutions are a perfect fit for the type of modular product that we have. What differentiates SteelCell from the other modular manufacturers is our use of galvannealed steel coated with polyurea and the lightweight nature of that product. In many cases, there are different modular products, but with some of those modular products has come, special design considerations like extreme weight, hard roads to actually get and build on the job site to receive some of the product. So we kind of give you the best of both worlds. We've got that modular and a wide range of modular solutions in a lightweight but secure tested product that can really fill the need that we have for modular or prefabricated units on job sites without some of the restrictions that other methods have had over the years. We do realize there are other solutions out there, but we think our unique solutions with coatings, tested design, ability to customize, ability to work with architects to provide solutions really offer us an advantage over many other similar, almost as good as products out in the market now. So the pandemic is on the forefront of a lot of designers and owners' minds today. And SteelCell really hasn't done anything unique. We've actually had the right product for this pandemic all along. We have a virtually seamless interior. We use the polyurea coating that is thick, durable, and non-porous, which means it's easily sanitizable, and there are different methods to sanitize it. We were longtime proponents of a rear chase before it became popular in design. And the rear chase itself helps answer a question: how can we get a negative pressure cell? How can we direct the airflow so that we're not spreading any virus or bacteria, airborne, anything through the facility? And we're able to do that because we have an exhaust in the rear part of the cell, route it to the chase, to an appropriate HVA system, and we're not then pumping that air by the design of the cell back around the common areas for the inmates. The polyurea material, it's a marine and industrial coating, and it has been utilized to protect the inside of water tanks. So it's a perfect surface for the corrections industry. It's very durable, and you're very much able to sanitize it for long-term usage. The primary operations that go on at the SteelCell campus start with project management, budgeting, and then move to product engineering. Within our scope of services, we will also address any structural engineering that may be needed. Then within the manufacturing plant, we assemble the cell units here, or any prefabricated unit. Once we've assembled a cell, we're going to paint it with a polyurea coating. As we move along, we insulate the product here. We give it some sound deadening, some R value if needed by the design. And then we outfit it, and that's where things kind of change per scope and per project. We have new processes now that involve a modular, we call it a modular control system, in which much of the low voltage system is installed in the factory. It provides huge savings on job and eliminates miles of conduit. We have options to take it about as far as we can take it, or some of these items can be installed on the job site. Really, that's up to the owner, that's up to the project, and that's up to the scope, the way the project's scoped out. Many times we're asked to describe the process. You've got a job designed, and how do we get from point A to point B? We're going to get involved, or want to be involved, when you're creating budgets. No one wants to be surprised on bid day with a price that just doesn't seem to match anything that's been discussed. So we don't mind getting in early, especially with the Pauly Gel team. It's not uncommon for us to do multiple budgets prior to a job actually hitting the street, and we think that's a value add for the owner. We're going to create a detailed submittal drawing that's going to show you what we expect to deliver. Within that, there's some other things that go on. Most every state in the U.S. has a modular or industrialized building program. That is a third-party inspector that comes to our plan and inspects every prefabricated unit on your project. How you will see that that process is taking place is, in general, there's going to be a state-issued label on the back of the cell depicting the state that it was designed to go in. That is only part of our quality control system, but that is a big part of our quality control system because it's ensuring that we meet building code. All these processes go on, and then with our current manufacturing capabilities, we're able to build on some jobs 20+ units a day. The sequencing, staging, and logistics to make sure they arrive on time is a huge part of what we do that maybe nobody thinks about. When all these things work together correctly, you get a project that's delivered fast. If you're an owner, you get to make that call to the newspaper and say, have the cameras ready. We have sales coming in for our new project on this day. In our 20 years of operation, we have learned that strategic partnerships provide a great value for the owner and the constructor of the projects. Working closely with firms like Pauly Gel Building Company, Ajax, some of our key partners, we don't really look at them as vendors, but Willoughby, Titan, Kenall, and others. We're able to provide the best products. We have tremendous buying power. We have a tremendous working relationship with all involved. It makes it easier for us to put together budgets to offer realistic value engineering options as we go forward, and innovating products. With all the companies mentioned, we have in the past and are today innovating and creating new products for the detention market. We've worked with Pauly Gel since the company began, and they have the absolute finest install crew available. Their project managers are capable, they're owner focused, they're quality driven, and we're a very proud member of the Pauly Gel team.
Okay, we're back here in the conference room at Pauly Gel. Mike, we've had 2 or 3 questions come in just during your 12-minute video presentation there, so a couple of them are really pertinent. I'd like to go ahead and get those asked of you right now. Here's the first question. What are some of the features available on the SteelCell Normalized Cell product?
That's a great question, and one we're getting asked quite often. Over the last 2 or 3 years, we've started to get a lot of inquiries from owners and architectural community about how we could create what would be considered a more normalized cell environment. And that would be typically used in a juvenile facility, possibly or probably in a mental and medical health situation. But it introduces some newer technologies, it introduces some furniture options, some texture and color options. We've worked with some of the manufacturers like Willoughby to create a more commercial looking detention fixture, whether it be a lab or a toilet. It also would involve some extra natural light options, as well as you see in the video running, some partition options. Very recently, we did a unit for the Georgia Department of Juvenile Justice, which took a lot of these ideas and also added some partitioning and some screening of, or partial screening of vision to create, a bathroom type space. But basically with the normalized cell, we're trying to give a little more conducive environment to learning if you're in a juvenile situation or in the medical or mental health situation, an environment that's we're hearing is needed for rehabilitation and recovery.
Great. We have another We have another great question. It's actually three parts. I'm just going to break out one of them right now, as this comes up a lot when we're dealing with architects and construction managers, when they're talking about different metal cell types and coatings. So the question comes in, Mike, please compare the three most commonly used coatings: the two-part marine epoxy, powder coating, and then the finish that you use, polyurea.
Sure. I'll start with the polyurea. As has been mentioned a couple of times, the polyurea is a marine and industrial coating. Works very good in the production scenario because it dries fast and it applies at a very thick manner. We're also able to introduce a completely non-porous surface there, a coating that will bridge cracks, that will survive, building settling and not create hazard for owner. There are great epoxy systems as well. The differences in the epoxy systems and the polyurea systems would mainly be in the way they cure, the way they dry, and what you're left over. The epoxy systems tend to dry very brittle, and they work good on some surfaces. We have not found those to work great in a prefabricated unit that gets shipped across the country, maybe. We see them used on flooring options a lot. We even have some of the normalized cell options that we have experimented and worked with some epoxy coatings for the floor. But where you have a bunk on a wall that's going to get a 250, maybe a 300-pound inmate going in and out of it every day, you need some ability to flex or elongate or not crack and chip and peel. Then we move into the powder coats, and they're, as coating manufacturers have described to us, they're really a very thin, extremely thin coating that colors the material. And if it's something that's not in a wear area, we see it on filing cabinets, we see it on furniture or something like that, not on the seating part of it necessarily, but on other areas where it's not going to get much abuse. So I would say if you want a decorative but non-durable finish, powder coat works pretty well. As you move into the epoxies and then certainly into the highest end, the polyureas, you're going to get some resistance to abuse. That's the way I would just describe them. We do have one unit or once in our cell that's powder coated, and that's the light fixture. It's not subject to traffic, foot traffic, or furniture type traffic, but it is really brittle and subject to cracking if it is attacked. I hope that gives a general idea.
I think so. And then one other part to that question, with the polyurea coating that SteelCell of North America uses, does that carry an extra special warranty, is the question from the architect that asked it. Is there an extended warranty that comes with it because of polyurea coating?
Yes. SteelCell, working with Sherwin-Williams, has kind of co-warranties. If it's applied here in the factory, the polyurea have offered warranties up between 1 and 10 years, depending on the facility needs, but we quite frequently see those extended warranties and are happy to offer those. And that would be, I think it's an important thing to understand about the warranty too. It's not the warranty on the paint can or the label that comes on that basically excludes everything. It is actually a written warranty by SteelCell and backed up by Sherwin-Williams that says this will be used in a detention facility and under normal usage in a detention facility, which is needs to be a rugged material to withstand that.
Okay, great. And one last question for this segment, Mike. How would you compare the long-term durability of a SteelCell of North America product to that of a concrete or masonry cell unit?
Yeah, we get asked that question a lot, and I think it's because we're at one point in time relatively the new kids on the block with a steel product. But really, I think durability applies to two major issues, and one's going to be coating that we've already talked about. And I think that properly prepared A60 galvannealed steel is going to, the coating is going to adhere to it in a much more desirable state long term. Second part of the durability question comes to the moving parts, the parts that get stressed inside a cell. And primarily that's going to be the door opening and the furniture. So what we think makes steel probably superior to the other options in the market is that we're creating a steel to steel connection through a welding process in both of those scenarios at the door frame, instead of dissimilar materials where you have, very heavy door slamming against a concrete to steel joint that, especially and particularly with CMU, that we see deteriorate over time. One of the first jails that I went out to look at, and we ended up doing a steel cell replacement facility for them. They were chasing the door frames, and if you're an operator, you kind of know what we're talking about. They were constantly having to adjust doors. They were thinking they were hinge problems, but actually what was happening was the frames had loosened from the masonry wall a bit, and the frame just kept moving. So the facility maintenance people kept changing hinges, welding on a hinge, and at the particular time that they had decided it was time for a new jail, there were at least 3 different hinges welded on to most of the heavy use doors, all different types of hinges, surface mounted hinges, had the original mortise hinged on it, and then had a piano hinge on it, and it still kept moving, but it wasn't actually the door and the moving so much in the frame as that the frame itself was moving. So I think that's a huge portion, and then we're able to directly weld the bunk and the desk and the seat to the wall, and that is going to be far superior than a mechanical connection, and I think much more superior than an embedded connection that will loosen again in the concrete over time. So I think the rest of it is based on whether or not it's a detention grade wall. We perform, as do others in the industry, ASTM F2322 testing, and that is basically determining at what level and how suitable an assembly is for detention barrier. And we find that the galvanized or galvannealed steel wall performs probably better than some of the other systems out there. We were asked by a county in Virginia to take the test to failure, which is several impacts with the alternating between blunt and sharp objects. And basically we took the testing to a point of 10 times what the standard called for, and then finally agreed it was not in anybody's best interest to continue till failure. So I think you're going to get more durability out of a properly done steel cell than any of the concrete systems.
Well, you are the most popular presenter so far. We've gotten 4 more questions in during your presentation. I'm going to get to 1 or 2 of them, and then we're going to move on to TJ and Tim Smith. So, Mike, here's a question. What's an optimal width for the rear plumbing chase of your cell?
Okay. Well, I think the quick answer to that is somewhere between 36 and 40 inches. And I think from some of the earlier pictures that we saw, I think you can see most of the protrusion of the MEP connections occurs above head level. So if we're able to do a couple of things like mount the control valves for the toilet and shower fixtures down, even for the upper tier cells down at the lower level, then we reduce what needs to go on maybe at the upper cell. We have seen a lot of different ways to approach servicing that rear chase. Sometimes it's just a ladder that moves around where someone could access maybe a clogged HVAC vent or an upper tier flush valve. We've also seen them size more on that 40, maybe plus inches in case the facility's large enough and they wanted to maintain a path for a man lift, a small man lift in the back. But I think in that range of trying to save space, but leave enough for maintenance people to work. We would say in that range of 36 to 40 inches would be, ideal on the saving space side.
One last question. What other options can SteelCell provide for correctional facilities, such as do you do gang showers, or potentially can you do a prefabricated control room?
Absolutely. We've had multiple projects where we have done a two-story control room. They're done in sections. If you're going vertical and you need to save some weight and you don't have a core area that's going to support a heavy concrete system, or even just site conditions and soil conditions that would require you to have a massive footing to support a CMU or tilt-up precast or some kind of structure, we've been called on in the past, and we've done it in the past, and I'd be happy. I think there'll be some contact information. Be happy to show you before and after pictures. But yes, we've done control rooms, showers. We've probably never done showers the same on two different projects, but we do showers now on almost every project. They can be single and they can be ganged up to whatever the day room size needs. We've done complete shower modules, where there's a module that you walk in that has 5 sides to it, that you walk in that has 3, 4, 5, 6 showers. So almost any imaginable configuration can be done, and we are doing those on a regular basis.
Okay, and that concludes the SteelCell of North America presentation. I will add one more thing for that question that was just asked. If you go to the Pauly Building Company website and pull up recently completed projects, you'll find a job from Clinton County, Iowa, and in the film or in the pictures of that project, you will see a modular control room that SteelCell of North America made and we installed in the field. It's a pretty impressive video if you get to see it. We did have a bunch of questions coming in for SteelCell after Mike's presentation. Mike, are you still on is Mike still here? Is he with us, Pat? No? Okay, well, I got a question then. Question was asked, this came in from an architect. I've had trouble getting SteelCell sole sourced, even though I believe it's the best project. Do you have any suggestions on how to handle that? And with Mike not here, I'll go ahead and answer it myself, because at Pauly Jail, we only, we believe in using SteelCell of North America as our only product for that application. And we run into that question a lot of times. I think the easiest way to answer it is, if I was an owner, if I was an architect and a construction manager and a sheriff, I probably would do two different things, and we found them both to be successful. I would get my ownership team, if you want to call it that, and I would make the trip down to SteelCell of North America. I'd tour their facility, learn how they make their products, but then I would also either go to see the other manufacturers' plants, which you could do, or you could actually go out in the field and check on some jobs that are 3 or 4 years old, because it's always nice to see a brand new product in the facility. I think the better answer is, what's that product look like 3 or 4 years after it's been used 24/7, 365? As Mike talked about earlier, is it going to hold up? Is it going to allow for the wear and tear? Or is that product not going to meet it? And then anytime we've compared apples to oranges, the owner always has taken the he's always taken the approach of, well, we're going to buy SteelCell of North America because that's what we want, and that's the performance specification we're going to want. And they base that on having seen other products. I guess that would probably be the best way to answer it. It really doesn't come down to a pricing issue. It comes down more to a quality control issue and how it's going to last in the field. Yeah. And one other thing that we do, Mike, that there are pre-qualifications that we use that are performance-based, and it asks you to provide the testing and the coatings and everything else. And if you have a quality product, you should have no problem filling out the qualifications. And if you can't meet them, I guess then it's going to be an issue. So it's probably a combination of those three together. Yeah, it takes a little time, takes a little effort. You got to make some road trips. But you got to think about it. You're going to buy a product that's going to have to stay in your county for the next 40 or 50 years. All right? Hope that answered. Mike, do you have another thing you want to throw in there?
Yeah, what I would throw in there is I think the key component is always educating the owner. Um, because as a designer or engineer, you can write a specification. Um, but if, and your owner's not going to understand every technical detail of the specification, but with some major components, I think it's important that the owner is educated enough to know why there may be a limited field and why certain aspects of a performance specification are important for this application. So we always applaud the owner groups that come because they educate themselves, and I think in that scenario, they're better able to support their design team and their construction team on making those selections. The worst case scenario is exactly what happens is you put something out with a very tight specification, you've done your research, and someone shows up during the bid process at the 11th hour saying, well, me too. And it's very hard in a public procurement to do much about that unless you're very educated on, the products that are available in the market. But owner education, make the trips, make the visits. We have been, and others will do this as well. We've been uh, able in most cases to deliver, some product up there to anywhere for valuation, kick the tires. Sometimes that's answers enough of the questions. The only other thing that I would suggest is some of the other delivery methods that are available out there. If the county you're working in or the municipality or state allows for some of the design assist, design build processes, you have a little more ability to do some qualifications based research and then bring someone on the team. The very premise of the design assist is selecting a team and then that team working to make the budget work. So I think those are your best options. But obviously, anywhere you go and any project you do has their procurement um, guidelines, and it may not allow for these. So educating the owner to me is key, always key. Educate the owner of what they're going to have, how they're going to maintain it, and what the options are in the market.